Hey crafty friends, it's Lisa, your DIY diva, and today I've got a bunch of brand new Christmas crafts that I want to share with you. I have so many different ideas of things that I want to make for Christmas this year, and I can't wait to get started and share them with you. Now, I'm sure you've seen these wooden crates at Dollar Tree. So what I want to do is paint this red. I'm going to make this into a faux book stack. So it looks like it's a stack of books. So I'm going to take some red acrylic paint, and I'm actually taking two different colors of red to make it more of a wine colored red because I thought that might be kind of pretty. So what I'm going to do is paint this entire crate. I'm going to paint all four sides as well as the bottom of the crate itself, because I'm going to be using this upside down. So the bottom of the crate is actually going to be the top. So once I had all four sides painted, then I came back and painted the top. Now when it dried, it wasn't quite what I was looking for. So then I came back with this Deco Art Berry red paint, and I'm going to put this on top. But I am going to add something to the paint. I'm going to use some glossy Mod Podge in the paint itself. This is going to give it a nice finish, and it makes it really smooth when it goes on. So I took a wider paintbrush and repeated the same steps of painting all four sides as well as the top, or what was the bottom of the crate. Now while that was drying, I took some wooden letters that I cut out with my X Tool M1 Ultra. This thing is so much fun to use because I don't have to use vinyl to make words. I can use wood, and for me this just works a lot easier. So I cut out letters that spell out Candy Cane Christmas. And I painted them white. So these are going to be like the lettering on the sides of the box. And as you can see, I'm using painter's tape to hold the letters in place. So that way I'm only painting the top surface of the letters. It also keeps my fingers clean. And while that was drying, I wanted to put some ribbon on the center section of the crate. So this is from Dollar Tree, and I really thought this would be perfect because it has a candy cane stripe. So I took my hot glue gun and I secured the ribbon to that center portion of the crate. I started on the front and then I wrapped the ribbon around on both sides. Then I went to the back and hot glued it in place there. And I did do 2 layers of the ribbon, so none of the red paint from the crate will show through. Next, I wanted to add just a little bit more separation, so I had this red shiny ribbon. It's almost like a cord, and I secured a piece of that to the top and the bottom of the ribbon that's already in place on the crate. Then I came back with my letters and I secured them individually to the crate. When I'm putting letters on like this, I like to start at the end and work my way towards the front or the beginning of the word. I did the same process on the top section with the words candy cane. And I do find that having a precision tip on the glue actually makes it a lot easier to secure the letters in place. So the B7000 with that precision tip just lets a little bit of glue out, which makes it a lot easier. Now I had this ribbon left over from last year and I thought it would look really nice on this project. So I took some of that ribbon and made it look like it was tied around one end of the book stack. But because this ribbon is a little bit thicker, I did come back with just tiny pieces on the opposite side and secured them down with hot glue on the front and the back because I don't want the book stack to be tilted. And while I could have wrapped the ribbon around the crate, I was worried that it might get a little loose on the bottom because there is no bottom to the crate. So I took another piece of the ribbon and using my hot glue gun, I secured it so it just overlaps the first ribbon just a tiny bit. And I repeated the same process of folding the ribbon down around the sides and underneath on the front and the back of the crate. And once I was happy with that, I made a simple shoestring bow and I attached that to the top, but I did come back and add one extra loop on each side of the bow. Now this is where it gets really fun. I'm going to use this white puffy paint and I want it to look like frosting dripping down. So I'm going to have it just kind of drip down on the front of the crate and on the side as well. And then I'm just going to fill in the top section of it to make it look like it's whipped cream or frosting on top of this book stack. And I did add a little bit of fake snow, and I got this from Target last year. I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's Target's brand. And because I have so many of these fake sprinkles, I did come back and add some fake sprinkles. I took the little peppermints and I put that randomly onto the frosting, but I made sure to hit the front and the sides where it was kind of drooping down a bit. And then I used some larger peppermints and then I came back with the sprinkles. Now the sprinkles are in Christmas colors, so white, red, and green. I love the larger peppermints. They're so pretty. And I thought it would be fun to make like a tiny table for a tiny cup of hot cocoa to sit on top of. So I took one of the peppermints and then I took a small red Christmas bulb that I had taken the end off of and I hot glued the Christmas bulb to the candy. I liked the way that that turned out. So I did come back with another peppermint candy and secured it to the top of the ornament with some hot glue. And this is the hot cocoa that I thought would look so cute as a little accent piece. So I even took some more of those peppermints and hot glued them together so it makes like a platform for one of the cups of hot cocoa. Now this is really pretty and I found this I think at Walmart and I thought this would look really nice with my little vignette that I'm making. But even though it's an ornament, that's okay. All I'm going to do is remove the topper piece so that it just looks like a peppermint tree that's sitting next to my book stack. So I carefully remove the hanger and look at that. Now I have this adorable little peppermint tree that I can use in my decorating. To me, it's just so pretty, and I really want to use it like in tiered tray decor, not just hanging from a Christmas tree. Now, for this project, I'm going to take these Easter eggs and I'm going to take these candle cups that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to see if I can make these into bells. I've also got these Dixie cups and these little tiny red solo cups, and I want to use them as well. But the Easter egg was too big, but I do have ping pong balls. So I took a ping pong ball and I cut it in half. Now, these are not real ping pong balls. I got these at Dollar Tree and they come, I think, in an 8-pack. So they're very easy to cut apart. And for that little red solo cup, I did just trim away some of that excess ping pong portion of the plastic. And by putting these on top, it's going to give that rounded appearance like a bell would have. And I'm going to make lots of different sizes of these bells. That's why I'm using the Easter egg for the candle cup and the ping pong balls for the other bells. So I just used my hot glue gun and I secured the rounded portion to, in this case, the candle cup. And then I repeated that step on all of the rest of the bells that I'm making. So on the larger Dixie cups, I am using the ping pong balls. They actually fit perfectly on top. And then I repeated that same step on the little red solo cups. And the ping pong half section did fit on the red cup. I just had to trim it down a bit. Now, once I had all of the caps on top of the bells, then I came back with my hot glue gun and I just used the hot glue around the edges. So anywhere where there were seams from the Easter egg or from the ping pong balls, I made a raised edge of the hot glue. This works fantastic. And I want these bells to look like those really pretty gold bells that everyone seems to be using in their decorating. But I wanted to see if I could find a way to make a lot of these bells without spending a lot of money. Because if you're going to be using a lot of these bells in your decorating, it could get really expensive. But by doing it this way, I was able to make a lot of different size bells with different little accents, and it was a lot more affordable. So not only did I use the hot glue around that top edge, but then I came back and just went around the Dixie cups, the red solo cups, and even the candlesticks just to make it look like it had a raised edge on different portions of each bell. Now, I didn't have anything that I could really use for the hanger of the bell. So what I had was this Dollar Tree double-sided like foam sticky stuff. So I cut a piece off and then another piece, so basically folded it in half on top of itself. And then I just attached that to the top of the bell. But it is a little bit flimsy. So I did hot glue the ends down and then I came back with the hot glue gun and I used the hot glue almost as an accent or to add some texture to the handle portion of the bell. This way you won't be able to see where the double-sided tape is actually attached to the top, and it will make the hanger look like it's a part of the bell and that it's all one piece. And I wanted to do this economically, so I'm going to come back with some black acrylic paint. Now, I got this paint at Sherwin-Williams when it was on sale, and look at how large of a container of paint I have. And I think I paid like $6 for that. So this is a really affordable option if you're looking for craft paint to get started. See if you can find samples, or you can just have a sample made for you to take home. They don't care what you're going to do with it, if you're going to use it in your craft room or if you're going to use it for testing a color in a room. They don't care. They're just happy you're buying their paint. And this paint works pretty well for covering the paper, the plastic, and the glass, which is what these bells are made of. So I ended up giving each of the bells 2 coats of the black paint, both on the inside of the cup and on the outside, which is what everyone is going to see. Now, if you have black spray paint, you could use that as well. But like I said, I was trying to make this affordable. And even though it does take a little bit longer, I really do like how they turn out in the end. And I hope that you'll agree with me that this was a good choice. Now, once my paint had dried, I came back with some Rub and Buff. And this Rub and Buff is in the color Antique Gold. And now I think you can understand why I painted all of the bells black. The black undercoat really makes the Rub and Buff stand out and just look really nice. I think the Rub and Buff definitely gives a more authentic look than, say, if you were to spray paint it. But if you don't have Rub and Buff and you do have spray paint, well, that would be an option as well. So I just used a foam brush to apply the Rub and Buff to each of my bells on the inside and out. And because I want to make these be as authentic as possible, I did make a clacker that goes on the inside. So I just had some jingle bells and I used some material that I had and I hot glued the clacker down into the center of the cup. I repeated that step on each of my bells. And believe it or not, they actually do make a bell sound. It's a jingle bell sound, but it still makes a bell sound. And when you're putting hot glue in something deep like this, these silicone sticks come in so handy. Now, I really wanted to dress up one of the bells just to show you what you can do with these. So I had some fake greenery that I put on the top. And of course, this is pine because right now I have tons of pine pieces and it works perfect for a project like this. Then I took some different pine. So one is probably Norfolk pine. I don't know. This is like a juniper pine. And I just stacked the little tiny pieces on top of each other so they look like they're cascading down on the sides of the bell. And then I took some really tiny pieces that have little red berries and I tucked those down into the greenery pieces too. And usually in my videos, I will show you the reveal of each of the projects as we go along. But I was just so excited while I was making this video that I forgot to leave myself some space at the end of the videos during the editing process to add them in. So don't worry, I do have all of the reveals at the end of this video. And I got this sign from Dollar Tree last year. The signs like this, these ornaments, they are much bigger and sturdier this year, but this is what I had, so this is what I'm going to work with. And I'm going to take that metal topper off because I really like that and I want to use that for this project, but not right now. So it does come off fairly easily. It just has hot glue holding it to the cardboard. Next, I'm going to come back with one of the Dollar Tree tiles and I'm going to trace the ornament shape onto the tile. And then I'm going to cut it out. Now, if you wanted to, I've seen where people do these tile projects and they don't cut the sides off. They just like put it onto the tile and just go for it. You can do it however it works best for you. For me, I like the process of cutting the tile away from the adhesive backing rather than skipping that step. Yes, it is an extra step, but for me, that works. But you do whatever works for you. Now, hot glue tends to melt these tiles, so I'm just using I'm using a lot of the Dollar Tree wood glue, and I'm going to secure the tile to the ornament. And once I had the tile in place, then I took some Dollar Tree clamps, and that will help secure the glue to the tile. Now, once the ornament had time to dry, then I came back with some red paint. I think this is like my homemade red chalk paint that I had made, and I painted the entire tile with the red chalk paint. And yes, I am being very heavy-handed with the paint, but this tile can take it, and I've never had any problems with it cracking, and that way it makes it easier for me to get it down into the nooks and crannies of the raised areas of the tile. And once the paint had dried, I came back with some distressing ink and I used that on the raised portions of the tile. I wasn't sure which colors I wanted to use, so first I had a walnut color and then I came back with another color. It's a lighter one. I don't know if it was the tea one. I can't remember. It was just one of the lighter distressing inks because I want to accentuate the raised portions of this tile. Now I'm also going to be using some rub and buff, but for the next project, I'm going to be using this ceramic plate, and I figured I'm just going to use that to put the rub and buff on, and then I can put it onto my tile because I'm going to be doing something with that ceramic plate next. But I just took another one of those daubers, and this has the foam end on it, and I just brushed the rub and buff lightly over the tile so that it's really focusing on the raised areas. So you're still going to be able to see some of that distressing ink underneath, but then you get that pow of color with the rub and buff on top. And I continued to work the rub and buff all the way around the tile until I was happy with how much of that gold I had on the ornament. So next I took some of the rub and buff and I put it onto the ornament topper as well. The silver is pretty, but I do want to have some different colors and some different textures in the top of my ornament. So I'm going to just kind of sponge paint or just pounce the rub and buff onto the top of the ornament. I also made sure to get all of the edges of the ornament topper as well, just in case that shows. So now while that rub and buff is drying or whatever it's doing, then I'm going to come back with some different rub and buff colors. So I have some antique gold and I have another gold. I can't remember which one it is, but I'm just going to blend those together on the ceramic plate. Now this plate came from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to turn this into a riser so I can use it to sit under one of my candles. So not only did I do the top and make sure to get the edges, but I did bring that gold color all the way down underneath on the bottom portion of the plate as well. And this little tiny ceramic trinket dish really accepted that rub and buff very well and very easily. So it didn't take any time at all for it to become dry. Now, once I was done with the plate, then I had this wooden piece that I've had forever. I probably found it at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or Dollar Tree. And I'm going to put the rub and buff onto this bare piece of wood. And I wanted to do it this way mainly to show you if you don't have something like a primer coat on, you're going to get a little bit of a different color. But for this project, that's going to be okay. And then I just used some B7000 to secure those two pieces together. By this time, my ornament was ready to work with again, so I used some B7000 and a little bit of hot glue for that instant stick to stick the ornament topper back on top. But I do want to add in some greenery. So I have all of these pine stems that I've been collecting in anticipation of the Christmas season and the Christmas crafting time because I didn't want to run out. So I've got lots of these pieces, different types of pine that I can cut little sections of the stems off and then just put them as adornments on top of different projects. Now, when I'm doing a project like this, adding this greenery, I like to keep everything equal. So whatever I do on one side, then I'm going to come back to the opposite side and do the exact same thing. So this is a 3-piece section of pine that I've got on one side. Then I'm going to secure the same 3-piece section of pine on the other side. Then I'm going to come back with some tinier individual pieces. And again, same thing. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do on the opposite side. And I just continued this while I was working on either side of the top of the ornament. And you might be wondering, why are you not doing anything right in the center? Well, I'm going to put a bow there. And the pine greenery, it will just be lying underneath the bow and sticking out. Now, instead of making my own bow, I wanted to share this with you. This is a bow dabra, and this thing makes bows so much easier and quicker than I can do it on my own. And there's a lot of different options that you can do with this. There's a lot of different types of bows that you can make, but I want to keep this simple. So I've just got pieces of ribbon that are all pretty much equal in size, and I'm putting those different pieces of ribbon down into the center of the bow dabra. And you can see the jute twine that's going opposite. That's what I put in first, and then I stack all of that ribbon on top. You can do a few pieces of ribbon. You can do a lot of pieces of ribbon like I'm doing, whatever you want. This contraption can take it. And this was a very affordable piece of equipment that I recently bought for my craft room. And I just really wanted to share it with you to show you how easy it is that you can make bows. Bows have been my nemesis and one of the more difficult things for me to craft. So if I can do something that's going to make that process easier, I'm going to do it. Now, once I had enough ribbon in there that I was happy with the size of my bow, then I brought those two pieces of jute twine up and just tied it into a knot. So I tied the first part of a square knot and just tied it as tight as I could. And then the second part of the square knot. Then I can just lift my bow out of the bow dabra. Now, this is not a loopy bow. This is more of a rustic bow. So I did dovetail all of the ends of the ribbon first before putting it into the bow dabra. And for this project, I don't really care if there's anything on the center. I want this to have more of a rustic look. So I cut the remnant pieces of the jute twine to be the same size as the ribbon on the sides. And then I just unraveled the jute twine to add even more texture to my bow. Then I used a little bit of hot glue and I secured the bow to the center of my ornament. That was so much easier than if I were to do all of that on my own. Now I am going to come back and put some pine cones right into the center of the bow. And then I'm going to come back with one smaller piece of pine and I'm going to tuck that down in between the two pine cones. And that's it. And now I can finally reveal to you and show you all of the projects and how they turned out. So this is the Candy Cane Christmas Fake Book Stack. I love how this turned out. I think it is so pretty. And then of course I have my little cups of hot cocoa that I made. These are pretty straightforward and pretty easy to make. Let me know if you want me to show you how easy it is to make those, or if you've already done that and you don't need to know how to do that, but they were really easy. And there's the peppermint tree that was an ornament, but now it's a decoration. And there are my two risers for my hot cocoa cups. These were so much fun to make. Now on the top of my Candy Cane Christmas book stack, I did add in some tiny little candy canes as well, because I thought they just went along with the Candy Cane Christmas. Using the Dollar Tree crates is a very easy way to make a faux book stack for whatever holiday or season you're decorating for. And here is my Dollar Tree Rub and Buff candle holder, which could also be a trinket dish. Something so simple, but it's actually very useful and very practical. And you can take a pretty large candle, this is a Hobby Lobby candle, and put it on top and add just an extra element or raise the candle up a little bit higher wherever you're using it in your decor. And I think you can also see the bells that I made. These turned out so cute. They were pretty easy to make and they were very, very affordable. Now this is the bell that I added the extras to, and I wanted to show you there's a Hobby Lobby bell behind it. So yeah, it's not quite the same, but I think it adds a little bit of extra character to the other bells that I have in my collection. And because these were so affordable to make, I was able to make a lot of them so I can use them in a lot of different areas of my decorating for Christmas. And of course, the ornament. I am so happy with how this turned out. I think it is adorable and I really like it hanging up on the wall. I really do like the red with that distressing ink and then with the rub and buff on top to really bring out the accents. I think the red and gold looks really nice together. What do you think? Do you like the red and gold? Let me know what you think. And of course the bow. The bow was so easy to make using the Bowdabra. I think it turned out great and I really like the pine cones and the pine that's tucked back behind the bow. I think it elevates the look a little bit and makes it look a little bit more high-end than Dollar Tree. But I can't knock Dollar Tree because they have all of these fun supplies that we can use and use our creativity to come up with some really fun and unique pieces that we can use for our holiday decorating. Well, I hope that you enjoyed crafting with me today as much as I enjoyed sharing these projects with you. And I'm hoping this video showed you how you can create lots of different pieces to add to your decor without spending a lot of money. And if the projects in this video inspired you, hit that subscribe button because I post new budget-friendly projects each and every week, and I don't want you to miss any of them. Remember, crafting isn't just about how much money you spend, it's about the love and creativity that you put into each and every project. And as always, until next time, stay crafty and keep creating.